Hi, welcome to our shop in Muncie, Indiana, and we like to make things. We make many things, including frames. This is our gilding room. We have lots of projects on our table. I'm gonna go see what Carl's doing back in our wood shop. So I get there, this is our spray room. Then we have our wood shop. Lots of framing materials waiting. And then we have Carl. What are you working on, Carl?
Well, hello there. I'm Carl. I'm a frame maker and a gilder. And right now I'm making a keepsake box, which I'm going to gild. But first I have to sand it so it's perfectly smooth. Oh, hi, I see you're back. This is the next step in the gilding process, where we apply layers and layers of gluey clay, which is called bole, B-O-L-E. And we do this because we want a red undertone for the gold. And it also gives a surface for the gold which is completely smooth because we're going to sand it and burnish it.
So how many layers do you put down?
We put about 5 layers on. There's one layer on at the moment, and I'm putting the second layer on now.
All right, we'll see you in what, 4 more layers?
Next step will be gold. I think you'll see us putting gold on it next.
All right. Hey, Carl, what are you doing?
Hey, you're back.
I'm back.
It's good to see you. You can tell it's a different day because I have a different shirt on.
You do.
Yeah. So, so what we did from the last time was we put the clay on. Now we've rubbed the clay very hard and sanded it so that all of the porousness of the clay has been rubbed out and it's ready to accept the gold. You can see I've already laid a couple of leaves there.
And the clay's called bole.
It's called bole, B-O-L-E.
Oh.
So when we gild, we have a book of gold here, and this is very thin beaten gold, 22 karat, so there's a little bit of an alloy in there, but it's mostly pure gold. You need a knife to cut the gold. Then you need something called a gilder's tip. You can't pick up gold with your hands or use your hands in any way, so you have this brush here that's made out of very long hairs, which you will see in a second picks up the gold when I apply it there. And first I lay water on it. There's a little bit of water in here, and it's about half and half water and alcohol, a little bit of glue. I lay that on there. It activates the glue that's in the clay, and then the gold has something to stick to. So I'm going to take my knife and cut the gold. There's a lot of static in our room today, so it's degree of difficulty is a little harder today.
Wow.
So I cut the gold with my knife. Then I have a little Vaseline on my arm, which when I do this, builds up a little static on the brush. There's a lot of static in the room today, so I got to be careful. Hope this works. And then I pick the gold up with the brush. I get the water on this brush here, and I lay it down. I let that sit for a second because the alcohol in the water will evaporate very quickly, so I want to saturate that clay. So I go over it again, and then I'm able to lay the leaf. You can see how it sucks right down onto the surface. Then I have to tamp it down. You got to make sure that the water is flooded on there. If it's not, then the gold won't stick.
Oh, just like you get it down there and then all of a sudden it just connects.
It just jumps off the
It
brush.
does. It's like...
And once you've done that, then you have to get a dry... I always have 3 or 4 pieces of cotton on here because it has to be dry, the one that you use, to tamp the gold down. You see how it's kind of scrunched up a little bit.
Right.
You have to tamp that down because if you don't, later when you brush it around, then flakes will come off. And if this gets wet, then it starts to pick the gold up. So you have to, when it gets wet, you have to throw that away and then use a dry one.
Hey Carl, looks like you got your box gilded. Now what are you doing?
Well, we're decorating it. And what we're doing is we're using a burnisher, which is the thing I have in my hand. And if you have water gilded with real gold, you can use this tool to burnish highlights into the gold so it's super shiny compared to some of the rest of it. So what we're doing here is we're burnishing a little decoration into the side of the top of the box.
Hey Carl, we're back. Now what are you doing?
Hey, it's good to see you. We're doing the really fun part of it right now, which is the shapes that we had burnished into the surface of the box. What I've done is I've put a sealer over those shapes, which you haven't seen, but now at this point what I can do is I can take a very fine steel wool and rub. I can rub that, and you can see on the other corners there, which I've already done, is when I rub this, then the gold starts to come off where there's no sealer, and the red bowl, which you remember, starts to show back through, and you get that very delicate looking decoration shining through. It takes a little while to rub this enough to really see the result. So next time I see you, we'll have all this done and you'll see the box all together.
You can start seeing it come through a little bit, the red.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you when it's all done.
Right on.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey Carl.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine. What are you doing now? Is this the final step?
This is it. We put paste wax over it. It gives it a nice velvety surface once it's dry. So we put at least 3 layers of wax on. And once we do that, we'll be done.
Wow. That looks pretty. There's the bottom of the box.
There's the bottom. It's
there's
all rubbed up. Top's all rubbed up. And we're just about to finish it off.